Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting for February 15, 2022. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk begin to please call the roll.
Trustee DEYNE?
Here.
GANDSEY? Here. GANDSEY?
Here.
HOPKINS?
Here.
Ranke? Present. Swansky? Yes. President Wallace?
Here. First item we have this evening is under Building and Zoning, Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. We have one item under our agenda tonight, and that's the Hanover Township campus expansion. With that, I will turn it over to Roberta Grill to go over the executive summary.
Thank you, Trustee Hopkins. So before you tonight is the William Tickness campus expansion for Hanover Township. The township is requesting to annex for just over 14 acres directly south of the campus, and then to rezone 17 acres just to the south. So this area in here, here is the existing campus, here is the area they're looking to annex. Once it is annexed, it would be rezoned to the P1 PUD district, and they have submitted a phasing plan for the project. This phasing plan would include Phase 1, which is the emergency services station. Phase 2 includes the facilities and road maintenance administration buildings. And then Phase 3 would be a cemetery and then walking trails around the existing wetlands that are located here, here, and here. They've asked for a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use plan, which would change the designation from residential to municipal institutional. They are also requesting a plat of consolidation, consolidating 3 lots into 1 zoning lot. They're asking for special use permits for a planned unit development to allow 2 principal buildings on 1 zoning lot, wetland mitigation, and the cemetery. And then finally, they're asking for site plan review for the emergency services station. So they're in an existing single-family home here. They would be adding on a garage, 6,800 square foot garage area here. I have an elevation, and that's what it would look like. And with that, the petitioners are here tonight if you have any other questions.
Any other comments from the committee?
What is the, for lack of a better term, buildability of that lot now because of the wetlands? What could potentially down the road go along 59 there?
Well, the comprehensive plan showed it for residential uses, but there are quite a few wetlands on there.
So, feasibly, it would be difficult to build on the majority of that. How many acres did you say it was?
This is 17 acres. It's also heavily wooded as well.
And they'll be clearing out some of the wooded areas, I'm assuming.
What is it? Oh, go ahead.
How much traffic are you expecting on Sayre? Because I would tend to think those folks back there would be a little bit concerned about that.
So this is showing, so in Phase 2, it is showing a cul-de-sac, so there would be no access to Sayre Road. This is actually, it's a little misleading on this map.
Yeah.
This map is showing actually the water, looping of the water main.
Okay. It's not a little misleading, it's very misleading.
Yeah.
Because that looks like a roadway.
But that would take place in Phase 2, so that's why it's highlighted in yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, but see, as you can see, the cul-de-sac actually is here, so there would be no access to Sayre.
Okay, so we wouldn't have to worry about, for example, when 59 backs up, which it happens to do all the time, people cutting through the campus to bypass that intersection.
Right.
Okay.
In addition, there's an existing curb cut here that served both single-family homes. There's as I mentioned here, there's a home here, and then the second Phase 2 home is here. That curb cut is being removed. So they would access the existing curb cut across from Park Place Drive that currently leads into their existing campus.
Roberta, where will the forward parking be for?
So coming into the emergency services, coming down the roadway here.
I'm thinking of the walkways that, you know, that'll be cut through there. If people just wanted to walk through there, and I know it's heavily forested, if somebody just wanted to walk out there and have their lunch or something like that, or people would drive from Victory Center over there, you know, just to walk through there, is there parking available? This is a question the Plan Commission is going to ask, so.
Mr. Barr, do you want to address that?
Evening, everyone. So that would be part of Phase 2 when we're trying to do some improved walkways around those wetlands and ponds. And there would be, people would be able to park both at the building in the yellow area where the Facilities and Road Maintenance Headquarters would be. That's an existing building that needs some renovation work, as well as at that Emergency Services Station. So there's really extra parking there that during the daytime would be available for anyone that wants to access those wetlands and ponds for recreational purposes.
Mr. Barr, one question again too. The cemetery that'd be located there, is that going to be, explain the cemetery.
Certainly. So we've received inquiries over a number of years for a township cemetery. There aren't really, in most of the township, cemetery plots still available at public cemeteries. So that cemetery would address it. That's further out. That's probably 5 to 7 years out before we get to a place where we'd be able to build that or develop that. But there would be parking across, again, a little parking in the building across from it. And then if there was an interment, it would, you know, additional parking just for that brief period along the roadway there. And there'd be really very minimal traffic out in that area outside of the cemetery and accessing that Facilities and Road Headquarters.
Do you address some of the different phases in the timeline?
Sure. So the intent would be to build this over a number of years, or build it out over a number of years. And in the next 10 years, right away, we're looking at an emergency services station, hopefully to begin construction on that in the current calendar year. And then over the next couple of years, renovate the main house on that property into what we call Facilities and Road Maintenance, very similar to Public Works for the township. And then a few years further out, more 5 to 8 years, to install the cemetery. And along the way, we'd like to make those ponds and wetlands more accessible. Initially, it would probably be some very basic paths mowed out, and then trying to restore some of the wetlands to better condition. And then longer term, when we get to that phase to do the cemetery, to do more improved walking paths to make that accessible. There are some open other areas on that property that in the very long term, we may come back to you in 10 or 20 years and say, you know, there's some new priority that's identified. But this really addresses the next 8 years or so.
You know, you're going to be building something for the emergency services. Currently, you're in downtown. Is this going to be in conjunction with that, or is this going to be in addition to?
Certainly. So we'd actually move out the vehicles that are currently here downtown next door here to that location, although we do have some interest in continuing to potentially lease the fire barn for our buses. You may be familiar, our buses are kind of outside along Route 59 now. It would certainly help with their longevity to get those under roof, or at least a few of them that we'd like to be able to hold on to longer.
Any other questions from the committee?
Yeah, Berta, with the improvements that we're looking at 59 in Bartlett, what is the feasibility, it's a very ad hoc question, what's the feasibility of that frontage, 59 frontage? Has there ever been any retail strip malls or anything interested in that area? And would you foresee that being a potential location for strip mall type business in the future? The thing I'm looking at is just that I hate to throw away 59 access because that is the heaviest traffic flow. Mm-hmm. And when the things start going in the corner there, will there be a higher propensity for businesses to want to try to locate close to the corner?
The only, over the years, I recall townhomes, duplexes, and single family coming to us. No retail. You've got single-family homes to the south that back up to this. I don't see commercial locating at this property. Further south, yes, but probably not at this location. I mean, if you recall, we really are targeting the hard corner at the northwest corner of West Bartlett and 59 as part of the grasslands for commercial.
Okay. That's it for me.
Any other questions? We'll forward this to the Plan Commission to do further review and to conduct the public hearing. That's all we have under Building and Zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next item we have is Community and Economic Development. Chairman GANDSEY.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item. The staff has been working with Bruce and Jan Suffern and their partner, Sandy Braun, on the project to convert the barn on Banbury Fair into a modernized location to serve food and wine. It's to support Mr. Rakesh Chopra's concept plan for Le Petit Resto Bar Tapas, which was approved by the Village Board this past July. This is for the BEDA grant to the build-out for the barn in the future, which would include bathroom facilities upgrades, including bringing water and sewer service to the building, and the detailed costs for that, and numerous other plumbing and structure-related upgrades totaling $242,548. And due to that, we're recommending, our staff recommends a maximum BEDA grant in the amount of $50,000. Are there any questions?
I think it's great.
I think with the investment that they're making in the village, that the BEDA grant should be granted because of the fact that's the purpose of having that, to stimulate business here in our village. And the Sufferns have been long-time operators of businesses and residents of this community. And for the investment that they're making, the BEDA grant is there for that. And I would not have any problem recommending that to move forward.
How many restrooms are going to be, and are they accessible for people with disabilities?
Bruce Suffern, 316 Oak Brook Court and Banbury Fair, 211 Railroad Avenue, with my lovely wife, Jan. So question is accessibility for handicap. So working with the village and the building department and the architects, accessibility for handicap, both indoors and outdoors, is totally being incorporated into the design. How many places, they can basically sit anywhere at any of the tables inside. The only places that probably wouldn't facilitate handicap is by the windows. We have big slabs of wood with bar stools. So wherever the bar stools would be, would probably not be handicap accessible, but the tables inside would. And before I leave, I did want to also thank Public Works for the great job with snow plowing in our cul-de-sac and in downtown Bartlett. So thank you very much for that.
Bruce, do you guys have an idea of timing from here on when this goes through?
Yeah. So a lot of work to pull together all the contractors, to get all the numbers together, to submit all this to you. And so with the grant, with the help of the grant, and I can't tell you how big a difference it is to have the grant or not. We're looking to start this thing first spring.
Oh, good.
We're ready to get going.
Good. Fantastic. If there's anything else we can do, let us know.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question. Excuse me. This property has been for sale before, correct?
Beg your pardon?
This property has been for sale before.
It has.
Is it your anticipation to now keep it or
Well,
develop it?
over the last 10 years, it's been for sale twice for 2-year different segments. Now I'm going to be 72 next month. My wife is much younger than I. So how much longer we're going to continue is in God's hands. God's blessed us. Next year will be our 40th year anniversary for Banbury Fair, 40 years in downtown Bartlett. This year is my wife and I 50th wedding anniversary.
Yay.
Congratulations.
40 of our 50 years have been at Banbury Fair, and know that Banbury Fair was a gift from God and saved our marriage. And so we both still love it. But if somebody wants to buy it, it's for sale. What can I tell you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
But even if you do sell it, Rakesh's restaurant is still going to be operating, right?
Right. So we didn't mention Rakesh. So I wouldn't do this without having someone like Rakesh backing the concept. He is a quality, proven provider of food and services. He has a long-term lease with us, and so we're here to protect him. He's protected. He's aware of our situation, and he's cool with it. But again, there's nothing going on right now. We want to get this barn thing done and make you all proud of it.
Thank you, Ruth. And Jan.
I'm excited to see an old structure like this have new life.
If you haven't walked through it yet, board members, I would suggest that you contact Bruce and just do a quick walkthrough. It is really, really nice in there, the work they've already done.
Well,
So,
Board.
I'm excited.
Board, let me give you just a little history. Years and years ago, the JCs, when they were still around, were all exhausted boosters now, so it went by the wayside. But we used to have the haunted house in the barn. And we had a slide there and whatnot, and it was always during, the Halloween time. And we had so much fun with that. It was the kids come through, and my wife, they had a plexiglass part of the flooring. And we did this, JC's did all this, and we ended up putting a coffin under the floor with this plexiglass, and she would have a flashlight. And the kids would have to get down on their hands and knees to crawl through this little area. And when the kids were above her, she'd turn that light on, she's laying in the coffin, and they'd hit their head when they jump up. But we had so much fun out there. It was just unbelievable. I'm sorry.
This will be forwarded to the
All right.
board.
Thank you, Chairman Gandsey, and thank you for being here. Final item for this evening, Finance and Golf Committee Chairman DEYNE.
Thank you, Mr. President. The item we have on the agenda this evening is a proposed operating budget review presentation. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Mr. Dowden, if you would be so kind.
Thank you, Chairman DEYNE.
And how long do you think this will last?
This might be a little longer than the capital budget.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be problematic.
Thank you.
9 o'clock, is that when I have till?
Chairman, did you give him 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you what, I have a piece of candy here if you do it in 15 minutes.
We can all read, let's put it that way.
On that note, thank you. Welcome to the budget. I know that you can read, so I will skip through and hit the highlights here. Again, we like to say that it's more than numbers, so we do have policy documents in here as part of our long-term range planning. We've already talked about the capital budget. We've got goals in here. We've got highlights from each department. So we'll be releasing the proposed budget this Friday, or that's the plan. And in it, you'll see each department's summary and then some other highlights on sections on the major revenues, capital improvement plan, our debt service, and our policies and fund balance policies going forward. Here's our schedule. So we're up to February. Thankfully, it's not Valentine's Day today. So the 18th is when we are planning on sending out the proposed budget. We will be reviewing the budget next couple of meetings with the goal to have the budget approved in April. It needs to be approved before the next fiscal year starts, and that would be May 1. So our total revenue, $89 million. That's a little higher than normal. That's a lot of money. I don't think we've ever been over $100 million for the year, but this kind of breaks it down into sections. Property taxes, 13%. Other taxes, 30%. You see borrowings at 20%. That includes our IEPA loans. And going out is just about the same, $89,276,000. And that just kind of shows the breakdown between public works, public safety, and our capital projects. We do split the budget up into two sections. We've got our operating budget, we've got our capital. Operating is a little steadier. The last couple of years we did have some debt service refundings where we had proceeds coming in, payments going out, so that's why we had a little increases over the last couple of years. Capital budget really fluctuates. This year our operating portion $52 million and our capital $36 million. That's more than our capital improvement plan. That includes debt service payments from our TIF funds. So tonight we'll be looking a little closer at the revenue. Later on when we get into the departments, we'll be more detailed into the expense side. Again, $89 million, that's up about $4 million from last year, 5% increase. Another breakdown of by fund. So the general fund comprises about 30% of that. And our enterprise, that's water, sewer, golf, parking, about 42%. Getting into the detail then of our major revenues, property taxes is like our biggest source of revenue. Property taxes of $11,629,000. That's what we actually levy for. That's what we call property taxes. We have other taxes, tax increment financing that comes in from property taxes. We don't include that in this number. That's under our other taxes. But our property taxes, what we levy for is 13% of our total, 33% of our general fund. This year is going to be up just a little bit, $87,000. This includes our police pension, so that was up $135,000, and that's dictated by our actuarial report every year that gives us our required contribution. And the debt service was down about $47,000 due to our refundings. We'll talk a little bit later about our property tax rate. So our rate, we do try to keep it level. As you can see, as our EAV goes up and we keep our property taxes level or just decreasing slightly, that the rates do come down slowly. We don't really set the rates, we set the levy amount. Then once the taxable assessed value comes in, then the rate is just calculated from that. As you see, our assessed value is gradually increasing. Going back to the tax rate, one important note is that the state sets the burden between the counties. We are in 3 counties, and so we levy. The state looks at our total assessed values from each county, and that's how it gets divided up between Cook County, DuPage County, and Kane County. Cook County's burden went down to 39.07%. It was at an all-time high last year of 39.32%, so down slightly. That can affect the tax rates in each county. So if it just goes 1 or 2% on the burden, that can be quite a difference in the tax rate. As far as our total EAV, we're up to about 1.29 billion is what we're estimating in 2022. We peaked in 2009 at 1.37 billion, so we're still 5% below what we peaked at back in 2009. So that's amazing. I think that's something. This is a different slide. It's just kind of a big picture of our general fund revenue. Just to see, there's property taxes, then state income tax, local use tax. Those are per capita distributed from the state. And then our two sales tax, a regular sales tax, our 1% from the state, our home rule sales tax. And so you can see most of our general fund, this is 88% of our general fund, and most of that comes from property tax, income tax, sales tax, and then the rest of our revenues kind of trail off after that. In the budget, you'll see we have the line item of every single revenue line, and there's a lot of them, but this covers the bulk of the amount of the coming in. Again, other taxes have been doing very well. IML estimates these. They've got people that work on that, so we take their estimates as far as what we budget. So $5,400,000 is what our budget is next year. That's up $840,000 from last year. It's actually down from what we're planning on, what we're estimated to receive this year. I've got 41,208 there. They did start using our new population, 41,105 back in December. So they're estimating about $134 per head for this year is what we'll be receiving for the fiscal 22 year. Next year, down slightly. They're estimating 132,000. IML has had a hard time estimating accurately on this because of the way the economy has been going and the way that the taxes have been collected. So we'll see if next year's is accurate. It has been up quite a bit, as you can, 18% from last year's budget. So.
There's a lot of momentum to drive that LGD up to 8%. That would have a significant difference, I would imagine. Do you know what the total, have you calculated that into the potential?
Well, we're only receiving 6% now.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot.
And it's supposed to be 10% legislatively.
Originally 10%, I think it started out at 10%. They're still trying for 10%.
Well, the push is to at least get it up to 8%, and there's a lot of momentum behind that, so.
Yeah, we've been working with the COGS on that, and we sent a round of legislator letters thanking our legislators that have signed on to that push, and then reminding those that didn't that it would be a good idea.
Yeah. I would just suggest that maybe we take a look at that, keep a close eye on it, and then eyeball what taxes we could decrease if that does increase to 8%.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, we will do that. We'll keep an eye on that. So related to that, other per capita tax is the use tax. And I had reduced the use tax thinking that how much was from online sales. But when the online sales shifted to regular sales tax, it did not decrease that much. It only decreased 15%. I had a typo in the presentation I sent out to you guys. It said decrease because the prior year I had decreased it. This year, quite a bit up. So the budget was $900,000 last year. It's up to $1.6 million this year. One side note: we do include the cannabis per capita receipts in this number. It's small, so we don't have his own number, but about $80,000 they're projecting, $1.95 per capita on the per capita per cannabis distribution. So even if you don't have sales in town, we do receive a small part from that. So sales tax ended up just about where we budgeted last year. Again, The base tax is 6.25. We receive 1% of that. We started receiving online, so we had increased this quite a bit from the prior year, and it came about where we budgeted. So there's no change to the budget this year. We do have a sales tax incentive for the Ace Hardware, for Culver's, and then also for the car dealership. We haven't increased this tax for that at this time. We will add that on as we actually start seeing money from them.
Hey, Todd, before you jump through local tax again, one of the things I'd like to see when we look at this again is we put in local tax use to remove utility tax. So I'd like to see what projections we had back when we got rid of the utility tax and decided to add a local use tax. So the next time we meet, I'd love to see what those numbers were, showing that we replaced utility tax.
What the utility tax was?
Yeah, because that's primarily the reason why that we passed the local use tax was to have a usage tax versus a burden on.
Oh, the home rule sale, we've passed the home rule sales tax?
Yeah. I'd like to see those numbers.
Yeah, it was about, our utility taxes total a little over $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
When we discontinued, or that's where they originally were, and then we gradually knocked them down.
Okay.
So the home rule sales tax has been doing very well for us, especially when they started collecting home rule sales tax on online sales. So yeah, the home rule sales tax, $2.5 million, up just $120,000 from last year in the budget. So it came in pretty close to where we were thinking once the online kicked in. We'll see how that continues in the future.
How are we able to track that? Do we just get a report or something saying, just the state sends us a report saying this much taxes received?
We get detailed reports on sales tax. We cannot share those, though. For confidential reasons. Yeah.
Okay.
Real estate transfer taxes, the budget is, again, $850,000. We've been creeping up slowly. We've been as low as $200,000, $300,000 on this, so we're hesitant to base our operating expenses on revenue that can change quickly. Large commercial sales have bolstered this up quite a bit, but we haven't had a large sale since last May. So any one transfer stamp of over $100,000, and again, there's 3 of them added up over 262. Home values went up quite a bit though over the last summer. Our average home price was $338,000, so that was up about 15%. That puts a stamp up over $1,000 each, so that does help. Building permits. Again, $650,000. We haven't had any really large permits recently. Most of or I should say over half of our permits come from the smaller ones, so we're estimating over about 3,800 miscellaneous permits this next year. Residential permits for new construction, they're about $3,000 a piece, goes into permitting, then there's also donations included in that, tap-on fees, and other things. And then gaming tax has continued to grow, $325,000. That's about what we're estimating this year to receive, and that's what we use that as far as our BEDA for economic incentive. That's it for our general fund revenue. A couple other also mentions. Cable TV franchise fees, about $600,000. That's stabilizing. It was up over $700,000. It was gradually going down as people were cutting the cord, but it seemed to stabilize around $600,000 now. Garbage franchise fee, $140,000, down a little bit when we had the new agreement. Again, if you want to see in our proposal, it's going to be coming out in the summary section, page 18. There's a breakdown of our fees and taxes, connection fees. Also, after the proposed budget, there's the detail, or proposed tab, there's a detailed line item of all the revenue with history going back to the 18-19 year. A note in regard to water and sewer, we're going to be reviewing water. I know we've talked about water sewer rates for a lot, quite often. We're going to be bringing this up to the committee for a review as far as water rates, sewer rates on March 15th. So we're going to be doing public works rates March 15th, more in detail on this. For now, for what's going out as far as the proposed budget, I'm showing rate increases in both water and sewer. Water increases 5%. We haven't raised rates in the water fund since May 1st, 2019. 5% would bring a bill of about 6,000 gallons up to $74.09 or so. Water consumption went up in 2021 during the lockdown, or is that what you call it, lockdown? I can't remember. Anyway, you can see where it spiked in 2021. We've got mostly residential, so water consumption went up quite a bit. It's coming down this year about 1.25%. We budget kind of on an average, so the 22-23 year coming down a little bit more. You can see our revenue back in 2017. We started increasing the rates for the Lake Michigan water. We went up 85%. We ended up going from $6.36 per 1,000 gallons to $11.76 for 1,000 gallons. The new rate, that would be $12.35, 5% increase. This would go to our continued capital improvement plus our meter replacing program. Sewer charges, $6,550,000. That would be an additional $475,000, 8% increase. Again, we had planned increases. We didn't increase them in 1920 because of the pandemic, or in 2021. The big thing is that the IEPA loans, when the wastewater treatment plant is completed or mostly completed, then we'll have to start paying those loans back. As far as golf, not a lot of changes. Golf rounds have been up quite a bit. This budget projects a little over 32,000 rounds. That's actually 750 down from what they're estimating this year, or 450 down from what they're currently estimating. Food and beverage, just over $1 million in revenue. That's up 26,000 from this year's budget. They still struggled some this year with the pandemic and restrictions. Their projected revenue is just $934,000 this year, so it would be up a little bit from this year. A little more on the expenditure side. Again, as far as operating, if we take out the operating, without the police pension, we'll be at about $45 million. It's kind of tailing up at the end there. We did put extra money in, which in the Brewster Creek TIF Municipal Fund, we've talked about using as much as we could to make sure everything is in shape, and so that includes about an extra $1.5 million for other improvements in the Brewster Creek TIF Fund. This pie chart just kind of shows that most of our expenses, or 46%, almost most, is personnel services. We are service. That's what we do, and so a lot of it is personnel expenses. Contractual services includes our water agreement with the DuPage Water Commission, so that's a big chunk of that as well. another breakdown. I should say this pie chart, police pension, 12% is overstated in this one. This includes our, reserve for future payments. And that's been kind of confusing in the past. So I'm backing that out. That's a surplus of what comes in investment income over what is paid out in benefits. And so we're kind of backing that out since it's been kind of showing things. Fluctuates quite a bit depending on investments. I give a quick summary on the funds, on a couple of funds we're going to highlight here. This is the general fund. We talked about the major revenue. Because of the good returns on the revenue, especially the income taxes, we also received money from the recovery money. Our beginning balance is estimated to be about $16.5 million. That's quite a bit over our fund balance policy. We've been around 12, 13 million for the last few years. These last couple of years have brought that up to 16 million. You'll see net transfers, 5,299,000, and that would bring us down to 13,594,000. So this budget would use just under $1 million in the general fund for operating and other expenses. Included in this budget is about $750,000 for capital improvements. That includes landscaping, sidewalks, and that kind of thing in the general fund. So that's part of it. Also, down number 6, we're proposing to transfer $2 million out of the general fund to the municipal building fund. Our policy states that if we get too much in the general fund, then we should transfer it to a capital fund. Now, in the past, we used the municipal building fund to help pay for part of the village hall and other things like that. So that's what we're proposing in this budget, just to put that money. We don't have anything proposed, but just for future municipal building use. Central services, we don't talk about central services fund a lot. Its balance is just about $800,000 to start with. Each department transfers money to the central services fund, and then things like the IT department, the GIS department, the phone system, computers, copiers are all paid out of the central services fund. It's allocated throughout the village, including the water, sewer funds. So this year's transfer is the same as last year. It's not increasing. It was $1,455,000, and we'll be using just about $92,000. We do use this fund balance kind of as an equipment replacement fund. So our financial processing system and things like that come out of the central services fund. And we'll talk about more. We'll have Chris, our IT coordinator. He'll be talking about computer equipment replacement. Our replacement program. We're also purchasing the laptops for the squads this year as part of it. But the total machinery and equipment budget, $172,000, would come out of the central services fund. Vehicle replacement fund, we're going to be starting with just under $1.8 million. We transfer we're budgeting to transfer $694,000 in. Proposed budget is $989,000 out. So that includes 7 trucks, asphalt trailer, and 1 greens roller. The thing about it is the trucks have been very difficult. The big, large public works trucks have been difficult to come in. They ordered 2 this year. They're expecting 1 this year, 1 next year. So 1 is being carried over. That's about $160,000 is included in that $989,000. The new trucks are up to almost 200,000 apiece. So when you talk about snow plowing, and those are the snow plows. Those are the snow plows. Those are 200,000 apiece, and they need those to keep the streets good. So we had a good night for that. But they take a long time to come in. So Dan is expecting, if he gets approved to buy them this year, they should be here by the year 23, 24.
Do we have good resale value on those, Dan?
I think they've sold some for almost 40, 50,000. But they cost. So each department will talk about their vehicles. They're going to have the rating system. We're going to try to include more of that this year. In that, we are increasing the streets transfer to the vehicle replacement fund. We did an analysis on each department, and Public Works basically has spent all the money that they've transferred in due to the increase in the cost of their trucks. So we're increasing that this year. As far as the snapshot, we're not planning on any new taxes or fees. And the general levy will be unchanged. It did include a $86,000 increase for brush pickup last year. We will be continuing with that. Non-union wages, 3% is factored in. There are 3 employees that are going to be requested, 2 from the police, a continuation of their of staffing, and then 1 in planning and development, plan reviewer. A quick fund balance review. So this is general fund. This is what I'm talking about. We started with 16. We're going to start with 16 million. Those other bars on either side are our minimum, maximum fund balance policy. We try to keep. Our policy says 25 to 35% of operating expenditures. We've usually been running 40 to 45%. Part of that is due to our rating agency. They like to see healthy fund balances. That if you go back to our analysis, they talk about our healthy fund balances. So we try to keep those reasonable. We are planning on bringing that down a little bit, though.
How are we analyzing the policy on the fund balances? When you say general fund balance, how are we coming up with the minimum, maximum?
Okay.
And when was the last time we reviewed that?
It's been some time.
Mm-hmm.
So the minimum, 25 to 30, 25% is the low end, 35% is the high end of operating expenses. So if we take our 26 million general fund operating expenses times the 25%, and then we add on to that our reserves. So here it says our property changes in property tax levies. Back in the day, we used to hold some in reserve for what we thought the property taxes were going to go up. Ours does not change anymore, so that's one area that could be updated. Mm-hmm. Do also include in our reserve our payables and our accrued liabilities as far as payroll costs. But most of it is the 35% of operating costs. We try to keep that as a reserve. And
is that something that bond analyzers suggest? Is that, what would that equate to, 3 months worth of operating expenses, or actually 4 months worth of operating expenses? Is that a suggested policy?
That comes from our Government Finance Officers Association best practices, is what they put that at. Moody's would like us to see, like I said, about 100%.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem I have is, especially when it gets this high, and I've said this before because about 4 years ago it got this high, or 5 years ago, something like that. And you were basically holding taxpayer money without really having it earmarked for anything. So that's my biggest concern here is we've got all of these operating. I like that you give this chart so it shows how we're going to use it, but it is over time. So we've got to be really frugal about not getting that fund so high.
Yeah. Part of, well, again, this was accumulated because of, I think, the way that the pandemic worked, the way we've got CARES funding, the way
Yeah, the CARES money.
we didn't have a lot of overtime in the police department. There was a number of things, the way the income tax has been higher than expected over the last couple of years. That's where it came from. I think we're trying to be careful not to spend it just because we have it, but park it somewhere that would be used for one-time expenses, not just regular ongoing.
As long as we can explain to taxpayers that it's there for a reason and it's not just there to be comfortable. That's
Right.
my biggest concern.
Right. Yeah, and we have used fund balance for other kinds of emergencies. I think one of the last things was the Emerald Ash Borer program. We did use quite a bit of general fund money for that, and that was a lot of money.
Thank you.
We have the same water. You can see the water fund balance is also up there. That's mainly due to capital projects that need to be done and paying off the debt service. So this includes a 5% increase for the next 3 years. So we have quite a lineup, as you saw in the capital improvement plan, especially the meter replacement program, lead service lines. Even if we do get low interest loans or something else for that, we do need to pay those loans back. So we do. I don't know if we could, when we bring the rates, we can look at not doing a full 5%.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I would rather err on the conservative side than the aggressive side when it comes to raising rates as a resident, as I'm sure every taxpayer would agree with that. So I'd rather see these balanced down to the middle of the policy by 24, 25, and not still over the policy.
Okay. Sewer side's a little tighter, and especially when in 23, 24, we really have, we're really expecting some debt service payments coming down the line. So a little bit tighter on the sewer side, and so we'll continue to look at that as well.
Some of the balance in the general fund be used to pay down debt service?
Debt service, you mean on the property tax levy or in the?
Well, we have this surplus in the general fund. Can some of it be transferred to pay down a different debt service? If we wanted to? Or does it just have to stay?
It is not restricted. The problem is that when you use it for ongoing, you have 20 years of debt service, and if you supplement that, then you're going to property tax levy would vary a lot. One goal is that you try to keep your property tax levy even or not going up. So if that's what you mean by debt service, by reducing the property tax debt service levy, or we also have debt service in the in water and sewer fund. I don't know. It's not restricted. I could say it's not restricted, and that would be up to the board to what you want to do with that.
To maybe articulate a little better what I'm trying to.
Okay. That is it. So that is it as far as the fund balances. Again, we'll be sending out the proposed budget Friday. That's the goal. Lauren has been doing a lot of work and hustling and pushing us along and prodding and poking, and so thank you. Thank you. I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Todd. Does anybody have any questions for the treasurer? Holding them off for the next 2 meetings, I'm assuming.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Moved by trustee DEYNE, seconded by trustee Ranky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
GANDSEY?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Swansky.
Yes.
We are adjourned.